In the constantly changing world of fundability, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Get Fundable podcast with your host, Merrill Chandler.
Welcome, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of Get Fundable podcast. And in this episode, I had the opportunity to speak to one of the CreditSense Solutions Coaching clients, and he asked an amazing question. And at the end of that question, I asked his permission to be able to share it as part of a podcast because it was awesome. He asked, hey, look, I love what you're doing. I'm brand new as an entrepreneur. I'm exploring different things, real estate investing, looking into other opportunities. But when I heard your stuff, I wanted to get started up with my QFE, my Qualified Fundable Entity. But what do I use the money for? Then it was our conversation. So just know he's a solutions coaching client, and he asked a question because he's not involved in a particular environment yet. But my perfect scenario, he's actually building his QFE so that whatever comes to him, he can coach, he can consult, he can manage, he can market any other business or any other enterprise in which he's involved. So when we get back, we're going to go into that conversation and just think of it as a solutions coaching call where I'm helping him understand what to do, kind of what are the rules of engagement, how to use the money, and the definitions of many things that we've discussed in the past. So when we get back, we're going to drop right smack dab into this coaching call. So live and in color, I think you'll enjoy it. And it's all about, what do I do with the money? What do I do? We'll see you in just a moment. Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for your time.
Oh, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that, everybody gets taken care of, right? Fundability is so powerful that we want to make sure that you have all the tools, the answers to your questions, the things that you need in order to do so. First of all, since it's kind of the 1,000-foot view with me, tell me what your experience has been so far. I saw that you've been to the boot camp. Scott Carson is kind of where you were referred from or listened to the podcast and stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about your situation and what you've experienced so far.
Sure. So just like my life in a minute. So basically I'm an emergency medicine doctor.
Go!
and kind of getting burnt out, to be honest. Like, I love the job, but it's a frustrating line of work. Like, there's a lot of stuff that is not to love. So I've been, over the past year or so, like trying to branch out, like away from just straight up W-2 income and looking for other things to do with my time and looking for just kind of other avenues, and heard about you on Scott Carson's podcast, and it sounded like a really interesting, way to go about building up a business. And so I'm still kind of, in the process of working on things on my end. But I thought, regardless of what I end up doing, having a good profile and a fundable profile and some easy access to cheap money would be useful. I really appreciated listening. I think I've listened to all your podcasts, and I found them pretty entertaining.
Talk about a fire hose, right? I mean, seriously, no joke. In fact, I'm in the middle of, this is why we were able to talk sooner than next week, is because I'm actually doing more podcasts right now. So you're in the middle of the next set of episodes. So that's why I told the team, hey, I'm recording today. If you can get him in somewhere in here, then I want to talk to him. So I'm glad you're listening to the podcast. Pretty interesting stuff, right? I mean, I love them.
Yeah. Your passion definitely comes across to be commended. The only issue that I'm having is, when I first signed up, I believe it was Cheyenne who I was speaking with.
Yeah.
And I was explaining my situation where it's like, I'm early on, like, I would like the ability to ask like some, just kind of, I've heard you say that giving people these credit tools is like, giving a weapon to a 2-year-old. You're not going to be responsible for how they're used. And I
don't know how good you are.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And my question was, would there be the ability to have like just kind of generic, like hey, if I wanted to do this, like how might one, or how has somebody else in the past gone about, like which line of credit would you use, a loan? How would you go about asking for that or getting that? I was told that that would be something that could be offered. When I sent the email, I felt like I kind of got shut down and just said, like, we don't risk advising on your business.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm involved, because in a gray area, which overlaps a gray area. So it's kind of charcoal gray, right? So that, yeah, Delilah and the team, there's in no way did we want to communicate that we can't advise you on the principles of fundability as it relates to your QFE, right? Your qualified fundable entity.
Sure.
I think I even said it in one of the podcasts you may have heard, that way back in the day when I've been doing this a long time, right? And so I get clients who are fundable, and then those clients actually turned into, then they'd say like, all right, so what are you doing with your money? Because now we got money too, right? What are you doing with your money? The inexperienced 2-year-old with a revolver in my hand, I'm like, well, this is what I'm investing in, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm doing. And then, of course, 2008 hits. And so not only did I lose my shirt, but people were in the things where I was in that lost their shirt. And while I'm super clear, I think you know me well enough through whatever 60 plus episodes you've been through, I'm a pretty much a sharp shooter, and I'm going to cover my ass and I'm going to cover your ass as well, right? But I did tell them, I can't vouch for this. I'm just telling you where I am. So that turned into a limping wound. When it's cold at night, you kind of feel the weather. Well, when it's financially chilly, I kind of still feel the ramifications of losing almost $800,000, and a bunch of other people lost their shirts as well. So I've trained my team to say, here's what we do and here's how we do it. And then we don't tell them what to do with their money. So she did a great job of drawing a very clear line about saying, hey, we can help you get them. And if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get them. But I can't tell you what to do with it, because all of a sudden now I'm giving investment advice or real estate advice or fixing and flipping advice, et cetera. And they're not qualified to do that. That's why you and I are talking, because I am qualified to talk to you about that. And I'm happy to help you understand that. Let's say you want to get out of the if I understood my life in 60 seconds, you're looking to get out of the W-2 rat race. You're looking for time and money freedom, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you also have been listening to Scott Carson. Have you done notes? Is that one of the things you've already executed on, or is that on deck in the future?
Kind of on deck. So the things I've invested on have been single family, like turnkey rentals, and apartment syndication. Sure.
But have you flipped any, or have you just invested money for a fixed rate of return on a package deal, those types of turnkeys?
So far, the only thing I've done is a conventional loan for like a long-term buy and hold strategy.
Got it. Okay. So where I want to, and this is where we have our conversation, is that as I discussed in the boot camp, on the business side, there's 3 main commercial instruments, right? Small business instruments. There's business credit cards, then there's business lines of credit, and then there are business loans. Now, those 3, as I described in the boot camp, you can use them any way you want. But if you're looking to stay fundable, if you're looking to continue to build the relationship with the lenders, and you want to develop deeper and deeper relationships with bigger, deeper and deeper pockets, then your best thing for a business credit card is to use it for short-term capital. Rarely, if ever, keep a balance on it if you don't have to. If you're debt shifting from your personal over to business, sure. But we want to keep traffic going. And you remember the difference between traffic and utilization, right? Charge up and pay off. Yeah. And utilization is what gets reported, or the balance we carry over on the due date. Okay. So we want to keep those low and minimal. And so it's like free money to us in turning or fixing or flipping or doing whatever you're doing is just a free loan. Credit lines, the rules of engagement that are going to keep you in play are, meaning they're going to continue to grow up to that 100,000 if you use it right, is where you carry for 3 months to 6 months, right? Plus or minus. We never want to go over 6 months to a year, and you never want to be more than a year or half of the age, whichever is lower. So if you've had it for 5 years and we never still want to be over a year, ever. 6 months is the sweet spot and 3 months is dripping with honey sweet spot. So those are shorter term, but they're designed to carry a balance. Whereas the credit card, the highest yield is if we don't carry a balance or we keep it minimal.
Sure.
But you can charge up to that 38%. Remember how we talk about first 90 days, we only want 10 to 20% traffic, pay it off. But then we can carry 38% because they will continue to raise the limit if we carry 38% and then pay it down, 38%, pay it down, 38%, pay it down. It'll grow to 20, 30, 50, 75, $100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember the whole objective, because you're on business module 3, if I see this correctly. So if you keep going at your current rate, you're going to be vetting banks here shortly, and you're going to be creating these relationships. And we're going to start with business checking accounts, and then we're going to go with business credit cards, and then we're going to go with business lines of credit, right? Business loans, et cetera, can come anytime in there if you want a chunk of loan. So if someone were in the fix and flip mode, you could take down a property, right? You could score, either use it for the earnest money, and that earnest money is 30, 60, 90 days, right? And then use hard money, or you're going to use the credit line for your portion of hard money. You don't put that on a credit card. Your portion of hard money, after it's at least 90 days old, right? And then hopefully no more than 38% because we want to keep growing it during the growth phase. And if you could keep so it's a hard money piece, but that hard money, we need to be aware that we don't want that to turn into a 6 or 12 month turn on that hard money. We want to choose the deals. We want to be smart. We want to do the things right. So these are examples of what some of our successful clients have done. Also, our most successful clients do not carry notes on business lines of credit because they're like, oh yeah, it's 5%. This is awesome. But then you're carrying it at 5% and you're burning your relationship with the bank because they may call it due if it goes over that 6 months, right? And if it's a 5-year-old credit line, they may shut it down completely if it's over that 6 months to a year. So if you're buying a franchise, right? And you're buying a franchise and you know that you're going to get an SBA loan coming on deck, but you pay the franchise fee using the credit line. See how it's a short term. So I'm not recommending one of these things or another. I'm telling you what our most successful clients have used them for and how to create momentum so that you leverage it into the next level. So on a franchise, you pay the franchise fees and then you leverage it into an SBA loan right down the line. You fix and flips. You just take down the property with the earnest money or otherwise, or you use it as part of your portion of hard money loans. I don't have any client. Well, there are some clients who have multiple credit lines and they're past the growth phase. And I'll just use a random example. They got $400,000. So they transfer that money into their check account. They buy outright a property that they're fixing and flipping or that they're taking down for a buy and hold, but they only hold it for a month or two so that they could do a takeout loan with Fannie Freddie on some. I got clients with 38 properties, so they put it into the blanket loan or the property acquisition loan. This is cheap and easy money that's fast in your control. These are none of these, even the business loan, which could be 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. You can pop that into an investment. If you can deploy all the capital at once, then a business loan is what you want to use, right? But you immediately, 30 days later, you've got a payment and you need to be able to make sure that your cash flow can handle that. So does that...
Business loans, do they typically ask you specifics, what it's for?
Yes, they do. That's why your business loan, that's why when you're developing, and if you're still using Peony Consulting, that's your QFE, then if you're using that, then you can say, I'm using this to build my business. Marketing, I want to put this into infrastructure. I want to put this into acquisition of more coaching clients and consulting clients. And then if and when approved, you can lend that money to one of your deal entities. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
But the idea is you're borrowing the money as your fundable entity, period.
Sure.
You're borrowing
Sure.
the money as a fundable entity, not how you're going to deploy it, except when it comes to growing your particular portion of the consulting firm. So I have used examples of how some of our successful clients have used them, but be aware, I can't tell you exactly. If you came to me and said, hey, Merrill, I got this thing I want to do. Should I do it? Is that a good use of this? My team nor I am going to weigh in on that.
Yeah.
Is basically say the same thing I've done now is say, here's what they're designed to do. Happy to coach you on whether or not what you're doing, it's design, but I can't say whether or not you should.
Let's say I come to you and I say, I would like to have access to $50,000 to put in X investment. Can you coach me on the steps I need to tell the banker to help me get access to that loan? Would that be an acceptable?
Absolutely. And just so you know, what exactly we're going to say, or your team is going to say, is, oh, by the way, what we're going to do is you're going to borrow it in the framework of your consulting firm. Now, remember,
Sure.
This is not a dodge. It's not a workaround. This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You get to adopt the framework that I am. You're leaving W-2 land to become a business consultant.
Right.
It does not matter to you or to anybody else that the first consulting gigs you get is coaching your deal entities on how to acquire a property or help them get a mortgage for a long-term buy and hold. Those are your client companies. You're leaving W-2 land. You're preparing to leave W-2 land so that you have everything you need to create an addition of new clients. Your marketing expenses, your business development expenses is to acquire new clients so that you have everything in line so you can afford to build that client base so that they can pay you more and more consulting fees. But you have to adopt the belief system because this isn't a workaround. I train my clients how to build relationships with lenders, and lenders will love lending to a genius businessman who helps other business entities grow and be profitable and become awesome.
Yeah, that all sounds good. And I think we're on the same page, and I apologize if I was out of line or anything with this.
Yeah, you can't be out of line. I've just trained my team to kind of have my back because I'm still licking my wounds from 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, when I was so excited about teaching people how to get money. And I was so excited about all the money I had. And we were investing. You know what it was like, and maybe you don't remember.
I don't.
I don't know how old you were in 2008, but it was a rocket sled, and everybody was going awesome, and it was so much fun. And we were harvesting equity out of automobiles, right? Because everybody was lending at 120% of the value. I bought a Maserati. I bought a 57 Chevy. I bought 69 Corvette Stingray and financed them and harvested all of that equity out of the car and was making my payments faithfully. I've been doing it for a year, just left and right. 2000 hit, and all of the returns on the investments we were getting stopped. And all of a sudden, I bought a Winnebago, and they financed it at 120%. I had a grip of money just from the one, and I'm tooling around. I'm tooling around California in my Winnebago, right? So my whole investing philosophy has changed, right? I don't harvest equity out of depreciating assets, but I didn't know 2008 was going to happen, and my clients took a bath right alongside me. I don't want to be in the position of coaching you of what to do with the money. I can coach you to the end of days about what the money is designed for.
Yeah. That'll be very helpful, and I think we're on the same page. I wonder if you would be willing to do this, and if not, it's obviously your choice. But I'll bet a lot of people would be interested in just hearing past clients. Like, that's not you telling people what to do, but almost like how Bigger Pockets will interview somebody who's done a BRRRR strategy and take us through like what you did and this and that. Like,
absolutely. So yeah, it's so funny that you say that. You heard my millennial with my daughter, right? We're actually bringing on clients who Kurt Wettrick is geared to be on here in a little bit. and next week, I believe. And I don't know. I'm asking you permission right now if I can use this as a podcast to kind of share what the design and kind of a Q&A so that you are helping others get their answers. Would you be willing for me to use this as a podcast?
Sure, if you thought it was useful.
Oh, everything you're doing, people want to know exactly what you're seeing, right? So I would love to be able to use this as a version, almost like a radio show where we're interviewing one of the callers. Yeah, I got a question, Mr. Chandler. Right. By the way, Mr. Chandler is my dad. But that's a real thing. So if you're willing, I'd love to be able to have that be a thing for us, because you've had great questions. And a lot of people are like, hey, what do I do with this? And so we're outlining kind of the use of these things and how to do it. So yeah, thank you for the permission. And we'll see, it goes through my editors and my producers and content people. But I just want to make sure that it's okay. If they decide to use it, I want to be able to share the love with them as well.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thanks again for your time.
Absolutely, man. All right. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think I'm good. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dan. I just want to make sure that you're solid, and hopefully I've been able to give super clear answers. I'm not a bullet dodger, right? I want to make sure that you're getting everything that you have come to love and respect about Fundability and my team. There is just that really fancy line right there through, hey, I love having all this money available. What should I do with it? Yeah, that's on you.
And I think I better understand now, like, why I got that response I did. And I probably misinterpreted it a little bit, but I understand you need to be very clear.
Nope. Hey, that's why we're here. And that's why I'm available to make sure that the line in the sand isn't a chalk outline of a dead borrower, right? That is not what we want. All right. All right, man. You be well. Thank you for talking, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Get Fundable podcast. Please leave comments, because Merrill would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit getfundable.com to read our blog, get important links, join our community, and much, much more, like ordering Merrill's tell-all book that is changing the world, The New F Word. And you got to tell your friends about this podcast, because we want them to get fundable too.